Cherished viewer, we are glad to have you join us on Soul TV News. Let's begin with the headlines. President Tinubu reassures his commitment to improving Nigeria's infrastructure in all parts of the country. Dangote Petroleum Refinery slashes its ex-depot loading cost of petrol to 835 naira per litre. And United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs plans to shut down its operations in Nigeria. Now the news in detail. My name is Chukwudi Nweke. The State Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Professor Maria Omaka, has commended the State Governor, Chief Francis Nwifuru, for his love for education. The report. Apologies, we bring you details of this report in our subsequent bulletin. President Bola Tinubu has reassured of his administration's commitment to improving Nigeria's infrastructure and boosting economic development in all parts of the country. He stated this during the official flag-off of ceremony for the construction of Section 1 of 118.85 kilometer Calabar, Ebonyi, Benue, Kogi, Nasarawa, Abuja Superhighway project at Amorongbom in Afipo local government area of Ebonyi State. Details in our subsequent bulletin. And now let's move back to education, where the State Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Professor Maria Omaka, has commended the State Governor, Chief Francis Nwifuru, for his love for education. The Commissioner stated this at a one-day stakeholders engagement workshop organized by the State Ministry of Tertiary Education in collaboration with the Office of the Wife of Ebonyi State Governor and Gender Mobile Initiative on Sexual Harassment Prevention in Tertiary Institutions in Ebonyi State, which held at Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. The report.
Welcome to Civil and Public Servants Housing Estate here, Abakaliki, the state capital. This is a project initiated in January 2025 by the current administration of His Excellency Francis Nwifuru. It is meant for public and civil servants. This place houses about 143 duplexes. This project is supposed to last for 6 months, 6 months duration. On completion, it will be handed over to the state government for inauguration in May. This is the level at which we meet the project here. We have a lot of workers here and supervisors who are here to deliver the job. Join us into the project site to know what is happening.
Addressing stakeholders, the education sector, and students that were drawn from various higher institutions across the state, Professor Maria Omaka said that issue of sexual harassment in higher institutions has become a topic of discussion in different fora and urged concerned stakeholders in higher institutions to take drastic action to curb the ugly menace, emphasizing that sexual harassment should not be attributed to innocent dressing and urge all and sundry to have self-control. Professor Omaka encouraged students to always take their studies seriously and avoid anything that could put them in a situation to be harassed sexually, and thank the present administration in the state under Governor Francis Nwifuru and while for using her pet project Better Life for Rural Women, Children and Internally Displaced Persons (BEWO) to help in curbing some obnoxious practices being meted against women and girls in the state.
My one encouragement is that you don't live here the way you came. The idea of bringing us together here is as stakeholders in different higher institutions, as leaders, we will take it home to our different institutions by organizing a miniature or more than a more comprehensive version of this by bringing all the students together, bringing all the lecturers together, for them to meet at the round table to discuss these issues and see how we can pull the bull by the horn and call a spade and not a hole. Why? How do we do so? Somebody said we face left in implementation. It's not the time to say this is my brother, this is my sister, because somebody's child, somebody's destiny, somebody's career is at stake. We will compromise standard because we want to favor A or B.
declared the workshop open. The Vice Chancellor of Ebonyi State University, Professor Michael Awoke, represented by Professor Ikelechi Oba, said Ebonyi State University has zero tolerance for sexual harassment and urged participants to take what they learned back to their various universities. Guest lecturers Mr. Eugene Igo and Mrs. Confidence Eziala, who lectured the participants on campus initiative, a preventive framework against sexual harassment, contended that sexual harassment is holistic in nature as both male and female are harassed sexually.
Sexual harassment is not only for the girl child, right? We have had issues where boys have been harassed, girls have been harassed, even lecturers have been harassed. So it's a holistic conversation.
Participants include the Vice Chancellor of Ebonyi State University of Aeronautics, ESA, Professor Patrick Akata, the Dean of Student Affairs, Ebonyi State University, Dr. Emmanuel Obaga, the Provost of Ebonyi State College of Education, Uko, Professor Benedict Mbamo, the SAU President, Ebonyi State College of Health, Mbo, Comrade Hilary Omebe, and Ms. Adama Nofia from King David Federal University Teaching Hospital, Uburu, College of Health Technology, described the seminar as very apt and educative. Emmanuel Onyebe, Salt TV News.
And from education, we move to infrastructure. The housing estate for Ebonyi civil and public servants under construction at the city center, Abakaliki, is now at 50% completion. The indication emerged when EBBC Salt TV news crew visited the project site to ascertain the progress of work therein. Moses Erogo is our guide.
Welcome to Civil and Public Servants Housing Estate here, Abakaliki, the state capital. This is a project initiated in January 2025 by the current administration of His Excellency Francis Ogbonamwefuru. It is meant for public and civil servants. This place houses about 143 duplexes. This project is supposed to last for 6 months duration. On completion, it will be handed over to the state government for inauguration in May. This is the level at which we meet the project here. We have a lot of workers here and supervisors who are here to deliver the job. Join us into the project site to know what is happening. A visit to the multi-billion naira housing estate shows that a beautiful city is gradually emerging at the city center where Ebonyi State civil and public servants will be occupying on completion. The project, which was initiated in January 2025 to accommodate 143 duplexes, is rapidly progressing as contractors and their workers were seen at various blocks to beat May deadline scheduled for completion. Some of the buildings have been decked, while about 80% others are currently receiving concrete decking. The supervising engineer from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Simon Okota, said the ministry staff were effectively supervising the project to ensure their handover by May ending.
Earlier before now, we told you May ending. We are still working towards that, and hopefully by God's grace, we are going to complete it. We are at 50% completion. Before you arrived here, you see that we are not in a place. If we allow them to be working, substandard will be theirs. But the ministry has not given them a breathing space to do that. So we are on them to make sure that the best is done.
A contractor, Mr. Maximus Nwachukwu, explained that though time factor was a challenge, they have rounded off casting of decking with concrete machines in some of the buildings, while in some others, roofing and finishing can go on simultaneously.
See that we have rounded up the foundation, and we're almost doing a decking. We're casting a decking. If you go to the front there, you can see our concrete machine working. So once the decking is done, then we raise the blocks. And the roofing and finishing can be going on simultaneously. Okay. So definitely we hope to meet up with the time. Because every 6 o'clock in the morning, after my morning prayers, I take care of my body and come here, and I live here sometimes 10 o'clock at night.
A civil servant, Mr. Nnana Okeye, expressed satisfaction with the progress of work at the site and commended Governor Nwefuru for initiating the project.
Our governor being a builder, he has been into the field, and he knows much about the work, and he knows what is good for his people. That is why he conceived this idea of having this kind of estate here, which you know that is for civil and public servants. And I believe that the zeal, he started it, and that is the zeal he will use to complete it. I don't know, before May 29th.
The civil and public servants housing estate, when completed, promises to be a paragon of beauty. Moses Erogo, Salt TV News.
You are still watching Soul TV News. More of the stories when we return from this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Now the rest of the items in the bulletin. For the second time in the month of April, Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical has again reviewed its ex-depot loading cost of petrol to 835 naira per litre. The $20 billion Lagos-based refinery informed its marketers and customers of the splash on Wednesday. The report.
An official at the refinery confirmed the price reduction from 867 naira to 835 naira per litre to newsmen. The official also said the refinery will release a statement. Filling stations like Mrs. Oil and Gas, Adova PLC Heading, and others with special agreements with the Dangote refinery are expected to reduce their pump price to below 900 naira to reflect the marginal reduction in the ex-depot price of the premium commodity. The price reduction by the private refinery followed a meeting between representatives of the Dangote refinery and the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, last week.
Welcome back. The Lagos State High Court, sitting in Ikeja, has declared the removal of the reinstated Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. In a judgment delivered on Wednesday, the court also nullified the proceedings and resolutions of the House held on January 13, 2025, during which Obasa was ousted. The report.
Trial Judge Justice Yetunde Penhero also awarded 500,000 naira as damages for the unlawful and illegal removal of Honorable Obasa and for the psychological embarrassment he suffered as a result of the illegal removal. Obasa had filed a suit against the House of Assembly and the newly appointed Speaker at the time, Mojisola Merenda, to challenge the legality of his removal. In the suit filed on February 12, 2025, by his counsel, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afolabi Fashanu, Obasa argued that his removal by 36 lawmakers occurred while the assembly was on recess and while he was out of the country. He urged the court to declare the process unlawful, arguing that the sitting was invalid as it was held without the Speaker's authority or any formal delegation of power. In a judgment which lasted about 3 hours, Justice Penhero first dismissed the plenary objections challenging the competence of the suit.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UNOCHA, is to shut down its operations in Nigeria. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Netewata Goshewe, disclosed this on Wednesday during a validation workshop on the anticipatory action framework for Nigeria held at the National Counter-Terrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor, Abuja. The report.
According to him, the United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, Mohamed Paul, had informed him about the decision. Professor Nantawe, who declared the impact of flood disasters and insecurity on livelihoods in Nigeria, commended the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs for the insecurity on livelihoods in Nigeria for its intervention in the country, especially in the conflict-affected northeastern states. He described as unfortunate the decision by the UNOCHA to pull out of Nigeria in the face of daunting humanitarian challenges still experienced across the country. However, Professor Goshe reaffirmed the commitment of President Bola Tinubu to tackling the menace of floods and other disasters in the country. Earlier, the United Nations Emergency and Disaster Response Agency said it would reduce its global workforce by 20% 20% and scale back operations in 9 countries as it confronts a severe funding crisis and escalating global needs. The agency plans to lay off approximately 500 staff members from its workforce of about 2,600 employees across the 60 countries with a more concentrated presence in fewer locations, according to Najwa Meki, Director of Communications of the UNOCHA.
Still on the foreign scene, police says an American pastor kidnapped by armed men during a church service in South Africa is being freed following a high-intensity shootout that left 3 people dead. Josh Sullivan was found unharmed in the township of Gabriel in the Eastern Cape on Tuesday evening, the area where the 45-year-old was taken last Thursday, the report.
There were no immediate details on the kidnappers who had made a ransom demand. There has been a dramatic increase in kidnappings for ransom in South Africa over the past decade. Mr. Sullivan's kidnappers had made a ransom demand, prompting the intervention of South Africa's elite police unit, known as the Hawks. In a statement released on Wednesday morning, the Hawks said that Sullivan had been rescued following a verified intelligence wherein a coordinated team moved swiftly to the identified location. Hawks spokesperson Abel Fumba said that as the officers approached the house, the suspects attempted to flee inside the vehicle while opening fire.
And to end the news, the recap of the major stories that made the bulletin. President Tinubu reassures his commitment to improving Nigeria's infrastructure in all parts of the country. We also informed you that Dangote Petroleum Refinery slashes its ex-depot loading cost of petrol to 835 naira per litre. And from the foreign scene, we informed you that United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UNOCHA, is to shut down its operations in Nigeria. That's it on the news. My name is Chukwudi Nweke. Thanks for watching and keep watching Soul TV.